Finally, in the Tastemade kitchen, you, me, tacos. Let's start with the easiest and most fun sauce that will spice up anything, chimichurri. It's amazing, it's flavorful, it's zesty, and it's so freaking easy to make. So, typically, it's parsley. I do a little hybrid of parsley, mostly parsley. Let's say 3 parts parsley. Ooh, 3 parts parsley, 1 part cilantro. That's a little tongue twister for you. So we're just gonna rough chop that cilantro and that parsley. And so we got our parsley going, mostly just the leaves. Boom, that's in there. And then cilantro. Now with cilantro, the stem holds a lot of flavor. So we're just gonna take a little bit of this. Remember, about 3 parts parsley, 1 part cilantro. Got that tongue twister down. And we're just gonna cut off the ends just in case they're a little dirty. These are beautiful, no such thing here. And a little rough chop. And now we got our cilantro and our parsley in the blender. And it's just simple ingredients. We're just gonna go ahead and get a little bit of green onion. Just gonna cut off the end. 2 pieces is enough. Rough chop that guy. And the only reason why we're rough chopping is to make it easier on your blender. If you have a really powerful blender, you could just put it all in there. We're gonna put 2 pieces of garlic. A little bit of red chili flakes, a nice little pinch. This depends on your heat tolerance. If you like things a little spicier, you can put a little more. I like things a little hot and heavy, so I'm gonna go with a little bit of spice in that bad boy. And then some kosher salt, always kosher. And we're just gonna put enough olive oil and red wine vinegar to basically blend it. So with this much, I would say roughly at about 1/3 of a cup. And again, you can always just add a little bit more if it's not blending fast enough. And then you want about 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar, and that's gonna punch up the acid. Now, for you at home, if you don't cook all the time, I would say it's better to use measuring spoons, measuring cups. It's easier, makes things a little bit more precise. But if you've been cooking for a long time like me, you can just eye it. And then the last part, limes. Now, you can use lemons in your kitchen, but you should know that I'm very partial to limes. I don't want to make it weird here, but it is pretty serious, as you can see. So we are partial to limes in my kitchen. If you're cooking with me on Make This Tonight, just know it's always going to be limes. And if I say lemons, it's really because we need lemons in that. So lemon, no. Lime, yes. We're just going to put a little bit now. This is more for flavor. The red wine vinegar is the acid that you actually want. So we're gonna just start with a little bit. I kind of like light squeeze this bad boy. And then after, if it's not citrusy enough, not limey enough, we're gonna add a little bit more. So we'll get this going. And now that beautiful moment where it all comes together. And that marinade comes together! So crazy in my kitchen, I apologize. Actually, I don't apologize. This is how it's gonna be when we cook together. So we just gotta mix it up a little bit more, you know? Eventually it's gonna get there. Listen, we're gonna make a nice paste out of it. And if not, we're just gonna do it by hand, the old school way, you know, before there were blenders. The people were making tacos since day 1, you know? All right, so things on, we're getting it, and this is our final round. Just a little bit more oil, just in case. You gotta lube that thing up. All right, it's there. It's truly there. Here we go. So, if you spend a few minutes making a sauce, and the longest thing you have to do is press a button, it's not the worst situation, and I promise you it's gonna be worthwhile. And so it's finally going. We're gonna give it one last little mix by hand. It's purifying together. And this happens, you know, cooking is an exact science, but it's also a lot of on-the-go moves and making sure things work out on the fly, and that's what we're doing here. And so here we go. There we go, it's there. Moving together. And so you really don't want a fine paste. You want it to be nice and thick. You want to taste the cilantro, the parsley, and have a nice consistency to it. So there it is. let's see that consistency. I'll show you guys at home so you can see it's kind of nice and thick. And then let's go ahead and give it a taste. Grab a new tasting spoon. And so you're tasting for salt, acid, and heat. So right now I'm getting a nice amount of salt. I'm not getting enough acid. So that's why we have that backup lime. We're going to go ahead and squeeze that bad boy in there. And this is just the last part to taste. I always recommend doing this. A little bit more salt. Just kind of make it perfect. One last blend and we were good to go. And always be tasting. I mean, that's the #1 thing in your kitchen, and that's my #1 thing I tell all my chefs that come into my restaurants is as long as you're tasting and you're enjoying and you're feeling like it's getting there and that process is working, the food's gonna taste great. So our marinade is done. We can move past that. And now, let's go and grab our fish out of the fridge. Now, these tacos are so awesome because there's all these complex, amazing flavors, but it's so simplistic to make. So you're gonna look like you crushed it and not really have to do all that much. And it's kind of like me. It's just crazy and wild, but pretty simplistic at heart, you know, just a good boy. So here we go, grabbing our nice fish. Always use wild caught fish if you can, or sustainable raised fish. We went with a nice medium thick white fish. That's the best way to do it. It's gonna take nice flavors in there, but it's still gonna have a nice bite to it. And we're gonna grab and make foil packets. So here we just grab some double-sided foil, put it down right there. We're gonna grab our fish. We're gonna just give it a nice little olive oil, salt and pepper bath. So a nice little drizzle of olive oil. And then you're gonna put a little bit extra on that foil below it so that you can kind of rub it around in there. A nice little coat. And you have some more olive oil in your marinade that you're gonna go ahead and cook this in, so it doesn't have to be crazy. And then we're gonna grab some salt. And that kosher salt again, so important. And we're just gonna do a nice little seasoning all over it. Some cracked pepper. Go ahead and flip those bad boys around, do it one more time. The reason why you sprinkle from above is so that you can get a better surface area, so you get a nicely seasoned fish. All about salt. People are surprised about how much salt goes into good food, and it's not about over salting it, it's just about making sure the flavors show up bright. So we've got our fish going. It's been nice olive oil, salt, pepper bath, and now we're gonna go ahead and take our marinade, and we're gonna get it all up in this. Now, I love bold flavors. Everything is about flavor for me, and everything is about kind of creating a lot of excitement when you go ahead and taste this, and that's what this is all about. So you want to make sure you give it a good bath and all that beautiful greenness. And then we're going to steam cook it, so it's really going to enhance the flavor of it. And so you're going to see that really get up in there. And so now that we got this thing kind of covered and marinated, we're going to let it cook in there, and we're just going to grab one more piece of foil, wash our hands, operate it easy. Grab that top piece of foil. Now, this does not need to be pretty. Your only goal here is to make sure that the air stays in there and so that the marinade really goes into the flavor of the fish. So you just really want to make sure there's no air pockets. And you're putting this on a sheet pan so that it's easier to take out of the oven, and also make sure that you don't have any mess from it as well, just in case any does seep out. And so just make sure you go around one more time, and then it's fully set up. And then you're gonna go to your oven that is already on 400, and you're gonna go ahead and put this bad boy in there and cook it for roughly 15 minutes. I mean, you're gonna wanna make sure, and I'll show you the tricks to make sure it's done, but you're gonna get that in the oven and get that going. Voila, so easy. Now, this fish taco is an homage to the lime truck. It's exactly what we used to do. A little bit different in the sense that we don't have an oven on the food truck, so we cook it a little bit differently. But the marinade, the flavor compound, the wild caught fish, the cilantro, the chimichurri, the parsley, all these bold flavors, this is an homage to what we do. This is like tacos 101 in SoCal, but we elevate it with that higher quality ingredient, which is super important when you're cooking for yourself. You want to make sure you feel good while you're eating it. So now that that's in the oven, we're gonna go ahead and get our chips started, which is really easy. People think chips are super hard. It's probably the easiest thing in the world. You're just gonna take some fresh corn tortillas. This is really high quality masa. You can see in the texture and the flavor. If you know how to make tortillas, awesome. If you don't, just go buy some great tortillas from whatever nice food store you have close by. We're just gonna cut them into quarters. So just a nice little knife cut in the middle. One more time. And I like nice big chips, and you can choose to fry these, but for the sake of making things easy for tonight, we're just gonna go right back into the oven, which is pretty much the easiest way to do it, and we're just gonna bake these off. So less fat, more tasty, and super simple. So we grab our sheet pan, we already cut them. We're just gonna make sure that they're spread out from each other. Now we're gonna salt these a little bit so that they bake in the salt, and then we're gonna toss them in a little bit of salt after. And we're just gonna get these prepped and ready so when we do have the fish at about halfway, we can go ahead and get these in the oven so that they come out at the perfect same time. The goal with cooking with me is that everything is gonna be pretty much handled at the same exact time. So it's all either gonna be prepped or set up so that right at the last minute, everything just comes together smoothly and you can start serving. Now that the fish is cooking, the chips are prepped, we are ready to take a short commercial break, and then we'll get back to making awesome tacos. All right, we're about halfway with the fish, so we're gonna go ahead and get those chips into the oven to bake. Now, again, this is pretty cool because it all kind of comes together really quickly. The fish cooks for about 20 minutes, the chips cook for about 10, and you're gonna finish your guac and slaw on the last so that it all kind of plates right together. So for the guac, get some great avocados. The way you can tell an avocado's fresh and ready to be used is this little piece right here, the little pit comes right out. If it comes right out, you know it's ready to go. And so we have 2 avocados here, perfectly ready to use. We're gonna go ahead and chop them in half. So you just go right with your knife down the middle, and you're gonna split them in half, kind of like just pull them apart like that. Do it with the other one as well. And it's actually easiest because we are gonna put raw corn in our guac. It is easiest to do this right in the bowl first, so there's nothing kind of obstructing it. So you're gonna grab your corn, you're gonna put some pressure on it from above, and you're gonna use the front part of your blade and get that corn in there. Now this is like my little secret to my guac because it adds this amazing level of sweetness and pop and texture to your dish, to your avocado, to your guacamole, which is so tasty and so California, right? And it's just the nicest little add. So after you go ahead and put the corn into the guac, you're gonna wanna go ahead and get those last little kernels off. And this is my favorite part of the corn, and this is what people never use, the milk. So you want to take the back of your knife and scrape the corn. And this part is the really awesome leche de elote, which is my favorite part of it. And you're going to want to make sure you get that in there. And that's going to add a lot of that nice sweetness to make the guac a little more special. And so now you got that, you see right there. You're going to put that right into your bowl and throw that away. And then you're going to de-pit the avocado. And so you're just gonna put your knife in there, it's gonna pop right out. Do it one more time, just like that. And take that out. And then we're gonna get that going. We're gonna take our spoon, take this out. As easy as just to get all the ingredients and add them all at once. Now before you add any more ingredients, you are going to want to mash the avocado together. And this is the part where you can grab your potato masher or your back of your spoon and you're just going to mash that up. And again, you are kind of doing this with the corn in there on purpose so that you get some of that milk out of there. You kind of crush it up. And so once you get a nice thick texture on it, I like a little thicker guac, you're going to be good to go. So that was pretty quick and easy. Now our fish is at 20 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and take it out the oven and let it rest. And so, while that's resting right here, we're gonna just finish off that guacamole. And so, we've got our avocado, we've got our corn. We're gonna add jalapeno for heat. Now, I don't like the flavor of the seeds of the jalapeno. It's a little specific, but I always de-seed the jalapeno and use the serrano for heat because it's a little spicier and a little bit tastier. So we're only going to take half this jalapeno. We're going to de-seed it, which means just take out the seeds in the middle. It's a little easy trick you could do at home. Once that's gone, you throw that away. All right. And we're just going to do a nice fine dice. So you want to just cut small little slivers like this. And you can take your time with this. I'm a little quick with it. I've been doing it for a long time. And we're going to do nice little fine chops. And again, you want that jalapeno and that serrano to create a nice little buzz, all about flavor. So once you've nicely finely chopped that jalapeno business, you're going to get that serrano, and this is where you get the heat. And again, since we're not making a ton of guac, we're only going to use half of this. So you're going to cut it in half. You're going to keep the seeds in this bad boy. Do the same thing that you did with the jalapeno. Cut nice little slivers. Line them up. And do a nice little fine dice. It's funny, I've put a lot of crazy serranos into a lot of things. I put them into limeades, put them into different dressings, and one time I made a peach jalapeno limeade, and I ended up cutting up a whole bunch of them, and my hand got swollen. So sometimes you might want to use gloves, or you want to be a little bit careful. You never know how your body reacts to that heat. So it keeps it spicy. And then we're just going to put a little bit of green onion in that, so you're just going to want to chop off the ends. And again, you're building a little bit of a complex guac. There's a few different things that make this so special, but it will turn out to be a really, really great guac. So we're just cutting this into a nice fine dice as well. And the whole time your fish is resting, your chips are coming out of the oven. It's gonna be awesome. And you want to definitely get the white part of the scallions, as that has a lot of the flavor. All right. And I do like an oniony guac as well. So once you get all of that going in there, you pretty much have all of your ingredients. The most important things left is a little bit of garlic, a little bit of lime, and some salt. So for the garlic, we're just going to dice up a little bit right here. 1 clove, nicely finely chopped. You can use a garlic press if you have one. If not, you can finely chop it. When you do use a knife, you actually don't break down the proteins of the garlic, and so you get a nice cleaner garlic flavor, but it does take a little bit more skill, a little bit more work. And then roll out your lime. We've got a nice little hand tool that helps make it so much easier. And we're gonna go ahead and get 2 limes ready. All right. And so this little bad boy helps make margaritas, helps make awesome guacamole. And we're gonna start with 2. Ooh. Hey yo, lime's in the house. As you know, lime's all day. And then we got that going. Brighten up that guacamole and some kosher salt. And then once that's all done, we're gonna mix it all together and see what we're working with. So when I first started the truck, we used to do a batch that was like maybe 1 case or half a case of avocados. And then we started to get really popular after we won the Food Network show and things got really crazy. And all of a sudden, we went to 2 cases, 4 cases, and then things got even crazier. And we used to always do it by hand. And one day, one of our chefs walks in and goes, "Hey, have you guys seen this electric hand blender?" And we were pretty new at the time. It was like 10 years ago. And we didn't see it. And immediately, I saw my life flash before my eyes. It took me like 5 hours to use to make the guac. And then this one tool basically made it in like 20 minutes. So just in case you're out there wondering if there's an easier way to make this, there is. But there's nothing like making it from scratch by hand. It'll really teach you the appreciation of the guac. So everything's been mixed together. It's been seasoned, flavored. You just want to make sure you taste it. Man, That is good. Okay. It's really perfectly balanced, actually, first try. It's got nice sweetness, nice heat, nice salt, nice acid. So that's good to go. And we're gonna check on our fish. And at the same time, let's get our pan hot to grill the tortillas, warm up the tortillas. So let's see how we're doing in here. So it's cooled down. You can grab it by hand. Oh, nice. So the trick with seeing if your fish is done is really just grabbing a fork and seeing if, or a spoon, and just seeing if it kind of comes apart really nicely and if it's cooked all the way through. And if you see that none of the juices are coming out a different color and it's kind of falling apart easily, it's perfect. That is absolutely gorgeous. So we're just gonna keep it closed so we know it's good to go, so it just retains its heat. And while it rests, we're gonna get our tortillas hot. We're gonna plate our slaw. So we're gonna grab some red cabbage. We're just gonna cut it in half. We're just gonna cut out the core, which is already gone, and we're just gonna cut this a little bit of a bias right here. You want to try to cut it thin if you can. And this is why you have that reserve marinade, is that we're going to go ahead and make the slaw for the tacos to really enhance that same flavor. Alright, and so we nicely dice that. We're going to get that into the bowl. We're going to hit it with a tiny bit of kosher salt. Marinate. You just want to put enough to make sure that you get a good cover over all of it. Mix that up with a spoon. And again, just always the rule in my kitchen is continue tasting. As long as you're tasting, you know things are good, everything's going to come well together. If everything tastes good by itself, it's definitely going to taste good together. So let's see where we're at with the slaw. Grab our tasting spoon. So just maybe a little bit more dressing. And this is gonna brighten up. The reason why you want the cabbage is you want to have texture in the taco and you want to brighten it up. So it creates some depth in what you're doing. It creates a mouthfeel, which is important. Everything, like the perfect taco to me has a nice, amazing protein, has a fresh element to it, and then has a nice little crunch to kind of balance it all together. And that's how you can make any kind of thing into a crazy taco, as long as you use those same kind of building blocks. So slaw's done, guac's done. So let's heat these tortillas. You're just gonna take an easy tortilla, get it right onto the pan, and you're gonna wanna cook it for about a minute on each side. The masa is already cooked, the corn is already cooked, so really all you're doing is just heating it up. So as long as it gets to the temperature that you want, you're good to go. We're gonna get our fish, bring it back over here for final plating. Oh man, that is so beautiful. And then let's get our plates. So everything that we do has multi-use. The guacamole is going to go on the taco, but it's also going to be your side dish. So we're going to go ahead and plate it. Center plate. And the good thing about this is because of the lime juice, it will last as well for a few days. So, and it won't brown. And there's a trick. If you don't want your guac to brown, you just need to cover it with a tiny bit of olive oil, or you can press down a piece of plastic wrap on top of it so it doesn't get any oxygen. And you can hold this for a couple days as well. So this is done. We're gonna check on our chips to see where they're at. Chips are about perfect. So the chips are still gonna be a little bit soft when you pull them out of the oven, and then they're gonna harden as they sit outside. And so these actually turned out pretty well. And I always like my chips a little bit softer, with a little bit of texture, not super crispy. So that's pretty good, and they have a nice salt layer on them. Let's go ahead and flip these bad boys. And so they got a nice little brown. That's the perfect ideal thing. And if they're really great tortillas, they'll get a little poof of oxygen in the middle, and that's like my favorite thing in the world. I've been making tortillas from scratch for a long time, and these are really high quality. You can see it right there, that little poof, that's like the perfectness. So these are ready to go. We'll get these onto the plate. And then we're gonna take fish, plate it right there in the middle. Same thing with the next piece. Right there in the middle. We're going to grab some of that slaw. You could grab it by hand, grab it with a spoon. I think the hand's the easiest one on this one, just so you can plate it really nicely. And again, that purple cabbage against that green, you want to create a nice plating effect. We do eat with our eyes. So you're going to get that plated right there in the center. And then we're going to top it with a nice spoon of guac. Center. Beautiful. Gonna get a little bit of oil right off there. And these are the fish tacos right there. And our chips, now that they're plated and salted, we're gonna go ahead and grab them, put them onto the plate. We're going to plate this actually center real quick. And then get a few more chips, make it look nice. And as simple as that, in 30 minutes, you're going to get some fish tacos and guac. We'll get that stuff plated beautifully over here.